Blood dripped from my mouth onto the cold linoleum floor of the maternity hospital in Texas. I'm Emily Carter, and I'm 32 years old. 2 weeks ago, I had a future, a baby on the way, a dad who loved me, and a home that felt safe. Now, I was bleeding in the post-surgery recovery room while my brother tried to take everything Dad left behind. It started right after Dad's funeral. I'd just lost the baby in a miscarriage at 14 weeks that turned into an emergency procedure when the bleeding wouldn't stop. The doctors said I was lucky to survive. Lucky, that word felt so empty. I was at the hospital for a follow-up when my brother Michael showed up in the recovery area. He knew my schedule somehow later. I'd find out Susan had gone through my phone while I slept. "Time's up," he announced, loud enough for the nurses to hear. "Sign these papers now, or get out of Dad's house today." I refused. That's when he struck me hard. I tasted metal as pain shot through my jaw and ribs still sore from the stitches. "You better choose to pay or get out," he yelled, waving the legal documents in my face. I said no again. He struck so hard that I passed out and collapsed on the floor. The hit left me numb with pain. He scoffed. "You think you're too smart for that?" The nurse called 911, her hands shaking like mine. Police arrived 30 minutes later in horror, taking statements from witnesses. Michael tried to charm them, saying he was grieving Dad's death and I was being difficult. But with the clear handprint on my face and me on the floor, it was hard to explain away. They took him in, but Susan bailed him out fast. Before we continue, please subscribe and tell me in the comments what time you're watching and from which city so I know how far my story has traveled. I see everything. Thank you so much for your support. 3 days after Dad's funeral, I was staying at his house in suburban Texas, trying to recover physically and emotionally when Michael and Susan showed up with a moving truck. They didn't knock. Michael used his key and walked in like he owned the place, Susan trailing behind, with that fake sympathy on her face. "Oh, Emily dear," she cooed in a sugary tone. "We heard about the baby, such a tragedy." But her eyes were already cataloging Dad's valuables, probably calculating resale value. Michael got straight to business, slapping a stack of papers on the kitchen table, the same table where Dad used to make his weekend omelets. "Sign these," he demanded. "Dad left everything to Susan and me. You get $10,000 if you sign today. Tomorrow it drops to 5. I almost laughed. Dad, who raised me alone after Mom died when I was 7, who built Carter Realty from nothing into a $10 million company, would never cut me out. "That's ridiculous," I told him. "I need to see Dad's real will." Michael's face turned that familiar shade of red I remembered from our teenage years when he'd lose it. "This is the real will," he snarled. "Dad signed it 2 weeks before he died. You were too busy with your own drama to notice." Drama, that's what he called losing my first child at 32 after years of trying. I stayed calm, said I needed time to talk to a lawyer. He gave me 24 hours. Dad had always been clear about his plans, especially after his first health scare last year. He said, "Everything splits evenly between me, the company, pension fund, Michael and Susan. Get the Florida vacation home and $100,000 each. Fair is fair." But Michael had other ideas. As they left, Susan patted my arm with fake concern, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. That night I couldn't sleep, replaying Dad's last weeks. He'd been acting strange, secretive, even paranoid. I'd blamed his meds, but maybe it was more. The next day at my appointment, Michael was already there waiting. That led to the incident. When I got back with my friend Helen, driving because I was still shaky, the locks had been changed. After police released Michael on bail from the hospital incident, I returned to Dad's house with Helen driving me since I was too shaken. The locks had been changed, my belongings scattered across the front lawn. Clothes, documents, family photos, everything outside. The neighbor's sprinklers had already soaked most of it. What hurt most was seeing Mom's jewelry box, the one Dad gave her on their anniversary, smashed open on the driveway, her earrings scattered like broken promises. Helen helped me gather what we could salvage. She's 73, a retired forensic accountant, sharp as a tack, and she'd been Dad's friend for decades. "This isn't right," she kept muttering as we picked up soggy albums. "Your dad would never do this to you." She was right. Dad had talked about his will plenty of times, especially after his health issues. He'd always said the same thing. As we loaded my ruined belongings into Helen's old sedan, Mrs. Thompson from next door finally approached, glancing nervously at the house. "Emily, dear," she whispered. I didn't want to say anything at the funeral, but your dad was very upset the week before he passed. He came to borrow my phone once. Said he didn't trust his own anymore. Said someone was listening. That night, sleeping on Helen's couch with an ice pack on my face, I couldn't stop thinking about Dad's final weeks. He'd been acting strange, secretive, paranoid even. I'd attributed it to his medication. But what if it was something else? At 3 inches the morning, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Someone was trying to get into Helen's house. We called 911 and huddled in her bedroom with her late husband's golf club. But by the time police arrived, whoever it was had gone. They'd left a message spray-painted on Helen's garage door. Stop digging, or next time we come in. Michael showed up the next morning, all fake concern. Heard you had some trouble last night, he said, leaning against Helen's doorframe. Neighborhood's getting dangerous. Maybe you should think about moving somewhere safer, like another state. Helen wasn't having it. Michael Carter, she used his full name like a weapon. I've known you since you were 16, and stealing from your mother's purse. You don't scare me. Now get off my property before I show you what this old lady keeps in her purse. She patted her handbag meaningfully, and Michael actually took a step back. After he left, Helen pulled out her laptop. Honey, I did the books for your daddy's company for 15 years before I retired. Still have my access codes. Your daddy never was good about changing passwords. Let's see what Michael's been up to. Word count. That night at Helen's house after the intruder scare, I couldn't rest, so we reviewed the company records right then. What we found made my blood run cold. Michael had been bleeding. Carter Realty dry for 5 years with fake invoices, shell companies, ghost employees. He'd stolen nearly $500,000 just in the last year alone. The patterns were clever, almost invisible unless you knew what to look for. But Helen knew. This is federal crime territory, she said, adjusting her reading glasses. Wire fraud, tax evasion, the works. But honey, there's something else. These withdrawals started getting bigger about 6 months ago, right when Dad's health problems got worse. I remembered Dad's medication had been changed 3 times in 6 months. Each time he seemed to get worse instead of better. The doctor couldn't understand it, said Dad wasn't responding typically to treatment. Helen had a theory, and it chilled me to the bone. What if someone was tampering with his medication? She'd seen it before in her forensic accounting days, family members hurrying along an inheritance by playing with prescriptions. That's when I remembered Dad's last coherent words to me in the hospital. Check the garage, safe Emily behind the toolbox. Your mother's birthday. He'd seemed so urgent. But then the meds kicked in, and he never woke up again. We needed to get into that house. Michael and Susan had changed the locks, but they didn't know about the garage window Dad had never fixed properly, the one I used to sneak in through in high school. At 2 inches the morning, dressed in black like cat burglars, Helen and I crept across the backyard. I can't believe I'm breaking and entering at my age, Helen whispered, holding the flashlight while I jimmied the window. Though technically, honey, this is still your house until probate goes through. The garage smelled like Dad oil and tools from his workshop. Behind the toolbox, hidden by a false panel I'd never noticed before, was a safe. Mom's birthday opened it on the first try. Inside were 3 things that changed everything. Dad's reel, will properly notarized and dated just 1 month ago, a thick folder of evidence documenting Michael's embezzlement, and a letter in Dad's shaky handwriting. My dear Emily, it read. If you're reading this, then my suspicions were correct. I've been feeling worse since Michael started giving me my medications. He insisted on helping after my last episode. I've been documenting everything. The company forensic audit is in this folder. Michael doesn't know I hired an outside firm. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. He monitors my calls. Trust Helen. Trust David Lawson. Don't let them win. Oh, my love, Dad. My hands shook as I read. Michael had been tampering with my father's medication, slowly, carefully, making it look like natural decline. And Susan, I grabbed another folder from the safe. This one older newspaper clippings yellow with age. Oh my God, Helen breathed, reading over my shoulder. Susan's first husband died of heart problems. Second husband, kidney failure. Third husband, stroke. All within 3 years of marriage. All left her everything. My father was husband number 4. We photographed everything. Then Helen noticed something else. Michael's computer was still logged in upstairs. Quick look, she suggested, and we crept up the stairs. The house felt wrong without Dad in it, like even the walls knew something terrible had happened here. Michael's email was a goldmine of stupid criminal behavior. Messages to Susan. Old man took his pills like clockwork. Double dose in his coffee this morning. Transfer another $50,000 before the audit. Emily's getting suspicious. We need to move faster. But the worst was from 3 weeks ago. If we can't get Emily to sign, we'll need to handle her like we discussed. Handle me. Like they handled Dad. The next morning, we took everything to David Lawson, Dad's lawyer for 30 years. He had an office above the old hardware store downtown, all wood paneling and law books that probably hadn't been opened since the Clinton administration. David was 72, supposedly semi-retired, but his mind was sharp as ever. "I knew it," he exclaimed, slapping his desk so hard his coffee jumped. "Your daddy came to me 6 weeks ago scared out of his mind. Said Michael was up to something, but he needed proof. I told him to be careful to document everything." His face fell. I should have done more. David still had connections everywhere. Judges, federal prosecutors, IRS investigators who owed him favors. "This is big, Emily. Michael didn't just steal from the company. He stole from the employee's pension fund. That's federal. And if we can prove he was tampering with your father's meds, that's when Detective Sarah Hayes walked in. She was everything you'd want in a cop. Mid-40 seconds, tough as nails with eyes that had seen too much but still held compassion. "Lawson called me," she said, shaking my hand. "My aunt went through something similar. Caregiver was slowly tampering with her meds for the inheritance. I take these cases personally. Sarah had been investigating Susan for months. She popped up on our radar after husband number 3. The insurance companies started asking questions. But she's smart. Always moves, states always waits, a few years between marriages. Your father was supposed to be her retirement plan. We spent the next week building our case. Helen worked her magic with the financial records, finding trails Michael thought he'd hidden. David prepared legal briefs that would freeze the estate and stop any transfer of assets. Sarah got warrants for phone records, bank statements, and most importantly, Dad's medication bottles. The pills tested positive for 3 times the prescribed amount of the heart drug. Sarah told us at that dose it would cause exactly the symptoms your father experienced. Slow enough to look natural, fast enough to kill within months. But we needed more. We needed Michael to confess. That's when I remembered something about my brother. His ego was bigger than his brain. He always had to brag. Had to be the smartest guy in the room. If I played broken, if I let him think he'd won, maybe he'd get careless. "I need to call him," I told the team. "Tell him I'm ready to sign." Helen looked worried. "Honey, he's dangerous." "I know, but he's also greedy, and greed makes people stupid." The call was hard. I had to cry. Not difficult given everything that had happened. I had to sound defeated, broken. "Michael, it's Emily. You win. I can't do this anymore. I'll sign whatever you want. I just want Mom's jewelry box back, please." I could hear his smile through the phone. "Finally came to your senses, huh? Tell you what I'm feeling, generous. Sign everything over and I'll give you $20,000 final offer." "Okay," I whispered. "When tomorrow?" "Dad's office at the company. Bring whoever you want to witness it. I want this legal and final." After I hung up, David smiled for the first time all week. "He wants witnesses. We'll give him witnesses." "Detective Hayes, how fast can you get a warrant for recording devices?" The next morning, I called Michael again, playing the broken sister to perfection. My voice cracked as I spoke, though the tears were real they weren't, for the reason he thought. "Michael, I've been thinking. Dad mentioned something about another account a few weeks before he died. Something about Mom's life insurance that was never claimed. I don't want any trouble, but if there's more money somewhere, maybe we could work out a better deal." I could practically hear the dollar signs in his eyes. "Another account, how much I don't know. He just said something about a safety deposit box at First Texas Bank," said Mom, "set it up before she died. Maybe 100,000, maybe more." Michael took the bait like a starving fish. "You better not be lying to me, Emily." "I'm not. I just need enough money to start over, to get away from all this." He believed me because he wanted to. Greed is funny that way. It makes smart people stupid, and stupid people dangerous. That afternoon, Michael showed up at the house with his girlfriend Brittany. She was 25, blonde, and had that specific kind of giggle that could peel paint. She thought Michael was rich. He'd been spending Dad's money on her like it was water. Designer, bags, jewelry trips, to Vegas. She hung on his arm and called him Mikey Bear, which made even Susan roll her eyes. Mikey Bear says we're going to buy a condo, Brittany squealed, admiring herself in the hallway mirror. I've already picked out the name. While Brittany tried to figure out if Helen was joking, Michael tore the house apart looking for information about this mysterious account. He went through Dad's office like a hurricane, throwing papers everywhere, even prying up floorboards in his desperation. "Where is it?" he finally demanded, grabbing my arm hard enough to leave bruises. "I told you, I don't know exactly." Dad was on a lot of medication. He just kept talking about First Texas and Mom's birthday. "Maybe the safety deposit box is under her name." Michael's eyes lit up. Of course, accounts under Mom's name wouldn't have shown up in Dad's estate paperwork. He immediately got on the phone with his banking contacts, trying to trace any accounts under my mother's maiden name. Meanwhile, Detective Hayes was building her case. The recording devices we'd planted were picking up everything. Michael and Susan discussing how much extra med to give Dad. Their plans to sell the company to a competitor for half its value. Even their contingency plan for dealing with me if I didn't cooperate. "We've got enough," Hayes told us that night. "But I want them all. There's someone else involved. Someone at the hospital who's been providing the extra medication. If we move too soon, they might get away." David had his own surprise. "I've been doing some digging into that. The notary who they claim your father signed with. He died in a car accident 2 weeks ago. Convenient, right? Except I found his secretary. She says he was in Dallas that entire week. Couldn't have notarized anything in Texas." The pieces were falling into place. The meeting tomorrow at Dad's office would be our chance to get everything on record. Hayes would have undercover officers there. I'd be wearing a wire. All I had to do was get Michael talking. "You sure you're up for this, honey?" Helen asked, squeezing my hand. "You've been through so much already." A week later, I set the trap by calling Michael, feigning total surrender to draw out recordings. My voice trembled as I spoke, though for reasons he couldn't guess. "Michael, I'm done resisting, just sign and end it. But Dad hinted at that hidden account. Maybe we negotiate if it exists." The lure worked, his response eager. "Details on the account. He said something about safety deposit at First Texas Bank. Mom said it pre-death. Perhaps 100,000 plus. Don't trick me, Emily. No, I need startup funds to leave this behind." He agreed to meet, believing my desperation greed blinded him to the setup. At the realty office, the air still carried Dad's scent, his mug on the desk from his final day. Michael sat in Dad's chair, feet up, pushing papers over. "Sign here, here, and here. Then you get your cash and vanish." His notary Frank was there, sweaty, despite cooling a repeat offender on parole from Hayes's photos. Before signing, I said steadier than felt, "Explain what this means." Dad taught reading contracts. Michael Seahilled. "Simple. You forfeit all claims to estate business. Everything for 20,000 and we part ways." "What about staff?" I asked. Dad had profit sharing with them. "Not my problem," he laughed. "Companies being sold tomorrow to rivals for 3 million, could have gotten 10 if we waited, but I want this done." Admission number 1, caught on wire. Susan walked in, then carrying a bottle of champagne. "For after," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She looked at me with fake concern. "How are you healing, dear? That miscarriage must have been so traumatic. Stress can cause those things, you know. Maybe if you hadn't fought so hard about the will." I wanted to throw something at her, but instead I asked, "How long have you and Michael been planning this?" She laughed, that tinkling sound that probably charmed Dad initially. "Planning what, dear? We're just following your father's wishes." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, pretending to check something because I found some interesting emails between you two. Something about handling the old man dating back to last year. Michael's face went purple again. "You hacked my email. That's illegal." "No, you left your computer logged in when you threw me out." "That's just stupid." Brittany looked confused. "Mikey Bear, what's she talking about?" "Nothing, baby. Just sign the papers, Emily." I picked up the pen, then paused. "One more thing. How did Dad really die?" "Heart failure," Susan said quickly. "You know that, right? Heart failure. Nothing to do with the triple dose you were putting in his coffee every morning." The room went silent. Even Brittany stopped taking selfies. Michael stood up slowly. "You don't know what you're talking about." Don't I, old man took his pills like clockwork, double dosing his coffee this morning. Those were your words, Michael. In an email to Susan, dated 3 days before Dad died, Frank, the fake notary, started edging toward the door, but I kept going. You caused his fatal harm, Michael. Slowly, carefully, but you caused it. Just like Susan, with her 3 previous husbands. Susan's mask finally slipped. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can. The pills tested positive. The real will is with David's. And that notary who supposedly witnessed your fake will, he was in Dallas that week. Michael lunged across the desk at me, but this time I was ready. I sidestepped, and he crashed into the filing cabinet. Mikey Bear, Brittany shrieked. What's happening? I thought you inherited everything. You said we were rich. We are rich, baby. She's lying. No, Michael, you're not rich. You're a thief and a causer of harm. And you're about to be arrested. That's when the door opened. Detective Hayes walked in with 6 federal agents and enough firepower to stop a small army. Michael Carter. Susan Carter, you're under arrest for causing fatal harm, embezzlement, wire fraud, and about 15 other charges we'll discuss downtown. Michael tried to run. He shoved past Hayes and made it about 3 feet before a federal agent tackled him into Dad's prized potted plant. Dirt went everywhere. Brittany screamed. Frank tried to climb out the window but got stuck halfway. This is entrapment, Michael shouted, spitting out potting soil. She set me up. No, Hayes said, cuffing him. She just let you tell the truth for once in your life. Susan was smarter. She didn't run. Instead, she tried to destroy evidence, grabbing her phone to delete messages. But Helen, 73 years old and supposedly harmless, whacked the phone out of her hand with her purse. That's assault, Susan shrieked. Honey, I'm old and confused, Helen said sweetly. I thought it was a weapon. Brittany, meanwhile, was having a complete meltdown. You told me you were rich, she wailed at Michael. You said you owned a company. You said we were going to Paris. I already told all my followers. Baby, I can explain. Explain. I quit my job at the salon for you. I told everyone I was dating a millionaire. Do you know how embarrassing this is? My mother was right about you. She started hitting him with her designer bag, the one he'd bought with stolen money. The federal agents just let her go for a minute before pulling her back. As they dragged Michael out, he made one last desperate attempt. She attacked me first at the doctor's office. I was defending myself. Hayes pulled out her phone and showed him the security footage from the maternity hospital. You mean this video, the one where you struck a woman recovering from surgery? The one where 6 witnesses saw you? That defense, Michael's face went from purple to white. Frank, still stuck in the window, started crying. The employees had gathered outside Dad's office, drawn by the commotion. When they saw Michael in handcuffs, some started crying, but they were tears of relief. James from management actually applauded. Is it true? Asked Tom, Dad's foreman for 20 years. Did he really cause harm to Mr. Froud? Carter. I nodded. And Tom had to be physically restrained from going after Michael. That man gave me a chance when no one else would. He paid for my daughter's cancer treatment. That's when I learned just how many lives my father had touched. Story after story came out. College tuitions, paid medical bills, covered second chances given, and Michael had been planning to destroy it all for a quick $3 million. 3 months later, the trial was a circus, with evidence piled high. Michael tried 3 different lawyers, each one quitting when they realized how much we had against him. The financial crimes alone would have put him away for 20 years, but the charge of causing fatal harm was different. The prosecutor laid it out beautifully. Michael had been stealing from the company for 5 years, but when Dad started getting suspicious, he needed a permanent solution. Enter Susan, who'd been down this road before. The defendant's stepmother, the prosecutor announced, has a very interesting history with husbands and health conditions. He pulled up a chart. Husband number 1, John Hayes, died of heart failure after 2 years of marriage, left her $500,000. Husband number 2, Mark Reynolds, kidney failure, after 3 years left her $1.2 million. Husband number 3, Paul Jenkins, stroke after 18 months left her $2 million. And then we have victim number 4, Robert Carter. Net worth approximately $10 million. Cause of decline, digitalis tampering, administered over 6 months. The courtroom gasped. Brittany, who'd been subpoenaed to testify, took the stand in an outfit more appropriate for a nightclub than a courtroom. Her testimony was unintentionally devastating. "Michael told me his stepfather was dying anyway," she said, examining her nails. "He said they were just helping him along so he wouldn't suffer. He said it was merciful, but he also said we'd have 10 million. So I didn't ask questions." Was I supposed to ask questions? My last boyfriend said I asked too many questions. Michael's face during her testimony was something to behold. Every time she opened her mouth, his lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. But the real bombshell came when they found Susan's storage unit. She'd kept trophies, items from each dead husband, wedding rings, watches, and most disturbing medical records showing she'd researched their conditions extensively before marrying them. She targeted men with heart conditions, specifically because the medications were easier to manipulate. My father's medical records were there too, annotated in her handwriting. Increased Tuesday dose. Switch Thursday pills. Final increase next week. She'd planned his decline down to the day. Then David took the stand with Dad's real will and the letter he'd left me. The judge actually had to call a recess when he read the part about Dad, knowing he was being tampered with, but wanting to gather enough evidence to protect me. "He died getting justice for his daughter," David said, his voice breaking. He knew what they were doing, but he also knew if he acted too soon, they'd find another way to hurt Emily. So he endured it. He gathered evidence. He died a hero. James, the foreman from Dad's company, testified about the employee pension fund that Michael had been draining. "Carter promised us that money for our retirements. Some of us worked there for 30 years. Michael Carter was stealing our futures." 3 other families came forward during the trial. They'd suspected Susan in their loved ones' deaths, but never had proof. A pattern emerged. She'd find wealthy widowers with health conditions, marry them quickly, and they'd be gone within 3 years. Always natural causes, always leaving everything to her. "She's a predator," one son testified. "She killed my father and I couldn't prove it, but now I know I was right." Michael's gambling debts came out too. He owed almost $1 million to some very dangerous people. That's why he was so desperate to sell the company fast. The prosecution presented text messages from someone promising to break his legs if he didn't pay up. So you see, the prosecutor concluded, Michael Carter didn't just steal from a company. He didn't just cause fatal harm to a good man. He betrayed a father who'd raised him, destroyed a family, and tried to rob honest employees of their futures. All for greed. The jury deliberated for exactly 43 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Michael got 25 years for the federal charges, plus life for the harm charge. When they read the verdict, he actually fainted. Had to be carried out on a stretcher. Brittany, watching from the gallery, stood up and announced, "I'm totally writing a book about this. I dated a killer. Somebody call Netflix." Susan got 30 to life for multiple harms. When they sentenced her, she didn't flinch. Just smiled that cold smile and said, "I'll appeal." She won't win. Frank, the fake notary, got 5 years for fraud and immediately offered to testify about every other crime Michael had involved him in. Turns out Michael had been running a whole side business in forged documents. Another 10 years got added to his sentence. But justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about restoration. The company was saved without Michael's theft and with proper management. It was actually worth more than we thought, closer to 15 million. The employees got their pension fund restored with interest. Linda from accounting cried at her desk for an hour when she found out she could still retire next year. Dad had left me a letter with David, to be opened only after the trial. Inside was a key and an address I didn't recognize. "Your father set this up years ago," David explained. He knew Michael was troubled, knew Susan was dangerous. This was his insurance policy. The address led to another safety deposit box. This one at a bank across town. Inside was 2 million in bonds and a note for my grandchildren. I may not live to meet them, but I wanted them to know their grandfather loved them. Tell them about their grandmother too. Tell them they come from strong people. I cried for an hour in that bank vault. Detective Hayes got a commendation and used the publicity to create a task force focused on elder abuse and inheritance fraud. The Carter case, as they called it, became required reading at the police academy. Helen got her moment of glory too. The forensic accounting community gave her an award for her work uncovering Michael's embezzlement. She accepted it, wearing a t-shirt that said, "Old ladies know everything," and got a standing ovation. Best part, Michael's prison had a reputation. They didn't take kindly to men who hurt women or elderly people. Michael had done both. His fellow inmates made sure he understood their displeasure daily. He wrote me a letter 6 months in, begging for forgiveness, claiming Susan had manipulated him, that he never meant for things to go so far. I sent it back unopened with a note. Return to center. No such person at this address. 6 months after the trial, Carter Realty was thriving. I'd learned Dad's business from the ground up, and it turned out I had his instinct for it. We landed a contract to build the new community center, something Dad had dreamed about for years. The morning we broke ground, I stood where Dad would have stood, wearing his old hard hat. James, the foreman, squeezed my shoulder. He'd be so proud, Emily. I'd also found love in the most unexpected place. Andrew Hayes had been my emergency physician the night of the miscarriage. He'd testified at the trial about my injuries, both from the procedure and from Michael's attack. Afterward, he checked on me, made sure I was healing. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into something more. He was nothing like Michael. Gentle where Michael was violent, honest where Michael was deceptive. When I told him I was scared to try for another baby after everything, he held me and said, "Whenever you're ready, or never, if that's what you need, I'm here for you, not for what you can give me." We married at the courthouse with Helen and David as witnesses. Simple, honest, real. The day I found out I was pregnant again, I drove to Dad's grave. It was his birthday, and I'd brought his favorite coffee and a slice of the pie he loved. "We did it, Dad," I told the headstone. "We got them. The company's safe. The employees are taken care of. And Michael's never getting out. Susan either." The wind rustled through the trees, and for just a moment I could swear I smelled his aftershave. "I'm having a baby, Dad. Andrew's a good man. You would have liked him. He actually reads contracts before signing them." I laughed through my tears. "And Helen's teaching me forensic accounting. She says, I'm a natural. Must have gotten that from you too." I stood to leave, then turned back one more time. They thought I was weak. Thought because I was grieving, because I was hurt, that I'd just roll over and let them win. I touched my still flat stomach where new life was growing, where hope lived. Despite everything that had tried to kill it, they were wrong. Through every step, I learned something profound. Family trust has real limits, and when that trust is broken by greed and betrayal, the only path forward is to stand firm, seek professional help, gather evidence, and pursue justice without apology. It wasn't easy. It cost me pain, tears, and relationships, but it gave me something unbreakable: inner strength, resilience, and the certainty that hope can rise again, even after the worst losses. If you're facing something similar, know this: you're not weak for questioning or fighting back. You're strong for refusing to let betrayal define your future. Choose justice, choose yourself, and build something better.